Hi, I'm Beth from So Country, and today's tutorial is for the Panties in a Bunch wristlet from K.Azcona Designs. This is a super cute, quick pattern, and I've made several of these, and today we're going to be making one that looks almost exactly like this one. But just so you know, I've also made this one in a clear vinyl too, and on Kim's Facebook page, K.Azcona Designs, you can find several other versions of this to be motivated and inspired by. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about this pattern. We have a wristlet strap, a D-ring. We also have a zipper at the top, and it opens to be a very wide pouch. You could add pockets in here. You could add a zipper pocket, a slip pocket. You could add extra pockets on the back, but Kim kept this pattern beginner friendly, and so it is a great way to just get to learn how to make unique shapes, and it's great for gifts. So even though I'm making this as a wristlet, I won't be using this one as a wristlet. What I will be doing is I will be hanging it by the wristlet strap on a hook in my sewing room. I will keep this for whenever I am boxing a pouch or a bag. After I cut out those squares, I will put them in the wristlet and keep them in the sewing room because those are the perfect size and shape to make zipper ends for your number 3 or number 5 zipper. I'm actually going to use some that I had cut out previously in this tutorial. So for this pattern, it's going to be a way to help me stay organized and be more economical in my sewing room. We are going to be doing a sew along for this pattern over in the JNR Edwards Facebook group. So after you watch this tutorial, you can join us over there and we'll chat about it, show pictures, and talk about each other's bags, and just kind of way to connect with each other on a different level. So you are welcome to join us over there. But now let's go ahead and talk about the pattern pieces so we can get sewing this pouch. For my wristlet, I'm going to use 2 pieces of waterproof canvas. All my materials are going to be from JNR Edwards, so any of these you like, you can find them over in their group. I will have both the pattern for this wristlet and the materials I'm using linked in my description. So water resistant canvas here. That will be my lining, and then my exterior will be these 2 pieces. I went ahead and attached a woven interfacing. I use Royal Pixie Light for all my woven interfacing, and then I also attached a piece of fleece. You have a separate pattern piece to cut out your fleece so that it stays out of your seam allowances to help sew if you sew on a domestic, or if you just want to make sure you don't have any bulk in your seams. So that's all the fabric you need to cut out. I don't need to interface my lining because it's a water resistant canvas, and you can see it's firm enough and stable enough on its own. So I only have 4 pieces cut. That's it. Then I will have my zipper. The measurements for your zipper are given in the pattern. I'm going to use 1 piece of webbing to make my wristlet strap. I'm going to use another piece of webbing for my D-ring connector. I have 1 D-ring connector. I have 1 zipper pull. And then, like I said, I have 2 just vinyl scraps from whenever I was boxing a pouch the other day. So that will be for my zipper ends. This is all we need to get started. So let's go ahead and start sewing now. So to get started prepping, I'm just going to slide on my D-ring connector. Using webbing for D-ring connectors is a way to make a pouch a little bit quicker and saves you just a little bit of time. But you can definitely use the measurements given in the pattern to use fabric and fold it. It's just a traditional D-ring connector. So I went ahead and slid my D-ring on. I'm just going to baste the bottom of this to keep this closed, and then I'll set it aside for when it's time to add that to our pouch. I'm going to go ahead and add my zipper pull. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 scraps of vinyl for my zipper ends. Now in the pattern there is instructions with how to use fabric if you want to do that. I'm just going to keep it simple. These are going to be raw edge. I'm just simply going to fold them in half over my zipper, clip them in place, and then I will just top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from that raw edge, and that attaches them. Do the same thing for the other side. Oh, and I forgot. I need a swivel hook for my wristlet strap. So what I'm going to do now is just stitch these zipper ends in place and then baste my D-ring, and we're already getting started making this pouch. So a separate pattern piece that Kim gives us in this pattern is for a decorative stitch. And it gives you the proper placement for you to sew on a decorative line of stitching. Now I'm not going to do this in this tutorial because I have a straight stitch machine, but even if you do have a straight stitch machine, you can use that for different types of placement. I know one lady actually sewed lace onto hers using that decorative guide, and it looked so cute. It was like a little ruffle there. I thought about using fold over elastic, but I didn't have the right size or color, so I skipped that. But just know that if you have a machine that can do decorative stitching or embroidery, or if you have some fold over elastic or lace, you can use that template to trace on those seam lines and draw that on too. But for us, we're just going to move right along, and we're going to add our zipper just like we would any other pouch. If you see any random threads or other holes on my vinyl, and it looks like I've already sewn this once, it's because I did. My camera had some technical difficulties, so I actually had to seam rip everything. I had everything sewn together, so it happens. But let's try to get it to film properly this second time. So what I'm going to do is I start out attaching my zipper by pulling out my lining piece, and I have it right sides up. I put my zipper down right sides up. Now I'm going to center this, but in the pattern she actually tells you how much sides you will have, how much like measurement you'll have on each side, so you make sure you have yours properly placed. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew from tab to tab, and I'm just going to baste this in place. Have that basted, I'm going to take an exterior piece. I already have my fleece attached. I'm going to have my lining and my zipper right sides up. I'm going to place my exterior right sides down so everything will be right sides together. I'm going to put just a clip here on the side. I'm matching up all the sides, but I'm only going to sew along the top edge, and I'm only going to sew from tab to tab again. We are not sewing the full length of this piece of material, so just your tabs to tab. I'm going to use the full seam allowance given in the pattern. So let's open that up and look at it. We can see that our sides are not attached. The stitching just starts at our tab on both sides. We're going to flip this over so the wrong sides are together. We are not going to top stitch yet, but we're going to go ahead and repeat this same process for the other side. Get my lining right sides up, place my zipper right side up, center, and baste in place. Now that I have the lining basted, I will take my other exterior, place it right sides down so it'll be right sides together with the other exterior. Line up all edges. I put just one clip there on the side to hold them together. And then again, I sew from tab to tab and not sewing on each side. In the pattern, it does tell you that exact measurement you won't be sewing, but so you do have that, but it's tab to tab basically. Okay, now that I have that stitched together, you can see this is what my exterior looks like. This is what the interior looks like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close my zipper and spread everything apart. And now we're going to top stitch. We're going to top stitch like a box. So it's going to be let's say we start top stitching here, we go over our tab, down this side, back over our tab, back up this side. So a complete box or a complete rectangle. I'm going to be an 1/8 of an inch away from all the sides. I also like to pull the lining and exterior kind of apart to make sure that everything stays smooth and that lining stays away from your zipper. I have top stitched that box all around. Guys, I want to show you, I forgot to add my D-ring, so I am going to add it now. I'm just going to seam rip some of the stitches here on my exterior. So let's go ahead and get those stitches pulled out. I always forget D-rings, and I had this one sitting right beside me the whole time, and I forgot it. So I'm just going to do this. Follow your pattern. She tells you exactly what to do, but I'm okay doing it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick this little thing in there, and I'm just going to have it hanging out just a little bit out of the seam. That just kind of helps it be a little bit more secure. And then I'm just going to add this right here back on my regular stitches. So I want to edit this clip and put this before you get to this point so you don't make a mistake, but that was my fault. Add your D-ring, follow the pattern for the exact placement of your D-ring. Our next step will be to close everything up and put it together. So I'm going to pull my exteriors right sides together and my linings right sides together. I'm also going to make sure I open up that zipper. If you have a number 5, usually you can open it from the back of it, but just in case, we'll go ahead and open it now. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to clip all my edges together on both sides, exterior and lining. So now I have the right sides of both the exterior and the lining clipped together around the edges. What we're going to do is oh, and by the way, the pattern tells us that we can open the seams on the sides, butterfly them if you want, and that way we'll kind of reduce that bulk and have them spread evenly. So you can do that on these sides. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start stitching down here at the bottom. Make sure we back stitch and use the seam allowance given in the pattern. And we will sew all the way around both the lining and exterior, but leaving this open here at the bottom. This is our lining, so we leave the opening in our lining, and that is what we will use to reach in and pull everything and turn this wristlet right sides out. So let's go ahead and do that now. Couple things I want to mention. You also need to back stitch really well at the end of this, and not only at the beginning but also at the end. And when we're sewing over the sides, we want to make sure we do not catch those tabs, our zipper tabs, in the seam allowance, so we're not sewing over them at all. Just 2 little things I want to point out. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to reach in through the hole. It is a little bit of a small hole, but it's okay. You can get it because it's not a very big bulky pouch. And we're going to turn everything out, and then we'll make our wristlet and be done. So I got my D-ring added on there. It's fine. It happens. Whatever. But anyway, now what we got to do is we just got to close up this bottom. So I just fold it under, and I put my fingers in there and just kind of pull, and it naturally wants to kind of go the way it's supposed to. I'll just put a clip or 2 in there and to hold that in place, and then I will take it here to the sewing machine, and I'll just sew about an 1/8 of an inch away to close up that lining. Something else I always do is I'll take like my stiletto. It's a blunt tip, it's not sharp, and I'll put it in with the zipper tabs just to poke them out so they're really like not dented in or anything, because since you didn't catch them in the seam allowance, they are free. They're not sewed in at all, so sometimes they just need that extra push. The only other thing we do is the wristlet strap. So the way I've been doing my wristlet straps lately whenever I'm using webbing is I will just slide the swivel hook on just a little bit, maybe like an inch, inch and a half down. And then I'll take the other edge and just put it right there at the base of the swivel hook. Then I'll just fold this piece over. I do 2 rows of stitches. You could even do a rivet if you want. But this way it has like no bulk, and I feel like it stays just fine. So that's the way I've been doing that. So I will take this and sew it too, and then we'll tuck everything in and we will be done. Okay, now that I sewed this whole close, I'm just going to push it back down in my pouch. I will attach my wristlet strap, and my beautiful wristlet is done. Like I said, this is Panties in a Bunch from K.Azcona Designs. She always has great beginner-friendly but unique patterns to sew. If you don't have any of her patterns, or if you haven't used them, please check them out. She's coming out with another one next week, I believe, so we'll have another tutorial for her. And I hope you guys have a great day sewing. Like always, if you have any requests or questions, just let me know. I do answer all the comments. So thank you so much for watching.